Hey guys, welcome back. So this video is again about the DSO 150 and the modifications I did. And I ran into a small problem. You see, when I open up the DSO 150 and we take a look inside, I installed the switch between the battery and the BMS/charger, which is then directly connected to the boost converter that powers the DSO 150 when this switch is turned, and the LED right away, so I have an indication. What I did not think about is when I try to charge the battery, for one, I have to actually use the switch so the battery charges, but then again, it doesn't matter which way the switch is, if it's open or closed, the boost converter will get power right away, and so does the LED. And the problem is, in this setup, when I try to charge the battery with the boost converter and the LED, this USB port gets really hot, and we're talking about a temperature that you can barely touch. And I won't do it again because this BMS/charger heated up the cell itself, and LiPo batteries, they don't like heat. What I have to do to go around the problem of overheating the cell or overheating the USB port is to rewire everything, and I will do that. It's also a thing of convenience. You see, I always have to switch on first and then I can charge. If I connect the switch between the BMS/charger and the boost converter, then I can charge all the time. Originally, I did this for two reasons. One, it's a convenient place for the switch, and two is the BMS itself uses a bit of power and I didn't want to waste it. So I installed the switch over here. But then when I actually tried to charge the battery, the boost converter and the LED, they waste a lot of power. You see, the boost converter, if there was no load, just consumes a bit of power, and it's a waste power, to maintain the 9 volt. But as the LED is installed in here, the LED with its resistor consumes 90 milliwatts, which isn't a whole lot. But you have to consider that these low powers have the effect on the boost converter that it wastes a whole lot more. And maybe it's in the range of 2 to 3 watts of wasted power. The reason for that is that boost converters, buck converters, and switch mode power supplies have their highest efficiency typically in the 70 to 95% of its maximum output power range. So what I will do now is rewire the switch, so the switch switches one lead that goes from the BMS/charger to the boost converter, and the battery is directly connected to the BMS itself. And there's one other thing that I would highly recommend. If you do this kind of modification, don't install the LED to the output side of the boost converter, install it to the input side. By doing that, you only have to drop a few volts, like from 4.2 to 3 volts for the LED, instead dropping from 9 volts to 3 volts for the LED. So you have also, in this case, a little less power wasted. So I decided to rip out the whole battery assembly instead of working inside of the case, because I want to install the switch again by wrapping around a lot of Kapton tape and also the module so it's firmly held in place. The only thing that can stay inside is this Kapton tape. This is just to protect the connector and the input side of the oscilloscope. And now we can work on the battery assembly. Alright, I finished rewiring and now it should work much better, and I can now charge the battery without the boost converter being turned on. So now I will just make a quick test to see if everything works. So if I turn it on, the LED comes on right away. Now I cannot turn on the DSO 150 just as before. But the difference is, if I now turn this off and this off, I can charge the battery. Now let's grab this one over here and insert it, and it will charge. Now this is a small indication LED from the BMS/charging module, and I do not have to turn on the switch. It now charges directly the battery, and the switch just switches the positive. That one positive goes to the boost converter and one positive goes to the LED under here. I again used a lot of Kapton tape to hold everything in place and also to make sure that there is no short that can happen. Just before I finish this video, let me show you what I had before and what I did. So before we had the battery plus and minus, and I switched the battery plus. We had a switch, and then it went into the BMS, and this was directly connected to the boost converter, and that then went directly to one LED and then DSO 150. But now what I changed was I have plus and minus directly connected to the BMS. I'm now switching the positive from the BMS, that one goes to LED and one goes to the boost converter, and the negative goes directly to boost converter and to the LED. And from the boost converter, obviously DSO 150. So the difference is that in this case I had to switch on, so I had to close the switch so the BMS was able to charge the battery. But the problem was that also the boost converter was sucking some power out of the charging circuit. And the LED, as I explained before, the LED itself only uses 3 volt at 10 milliamps, which is 30 milliwatts of power. The problem is that we had 9 volts at 10 milliamps, which means 30 milliwatts for the LED. We had to waste 60 milliwatts of power. And as these converters, boost converters, buck converters, or switchable power supplies have their highest efficiency in 70 to 95% of the maximum output, it was really inefficient and wasting a lot of power. And this additional power caused the USB port to heat up quite significantly. And now that there is no additional load, just the battery charging while I plug in the USB port, this thing doesn't even heat up. I can't feel a temperature difference. And that shows how huge an impact is, even if it's just 1 or 2 watt of additional power. If you do this modification, I highly recommend you do this. It was just the switch that had to be swapped around. I also swapped the LED because why not? I was completely rebuilding this part. Now the LED is directly powered from the BMS when the switch is turned on, and it doesn't waste a lot of power because this time around we have maximum 4.2 volts, and this one uses 3 volt at 10 milliamps, which is 30 milliwatts of power. Have to drop 1.2 volt maximum. 1.2 times 10 millivolts is 12 milliwatts of wasted power. So now we only waste 12 milliwatts of power instead of 60 milliwatts as before, and we don't waste additional power throughout the boost converter. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment down below. And other than that, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!